Welcome. Tiny Hands, Big Dreams, here on the homestead in southern Ecuador. So, the question comes up, what kind of animals are in Ecuador? Like, what kind of livestock? We couldn't figure it out before we got here. There's nothing, or at least there wasn't nothing when we moved here. There's stuff about living in a city. There's vlogs and blogs and things. But homesteading in Ecuador, which is actually really rewarding, it's spring, summer, year-round. It's year-round growing season. The land is inexpensive. It's beautiful. The economy is decent. The prices are cheap. So it begs the question of why wouldn't you homestead here? So we did. And actually we're having a grand time of it. But animals were this giant black hole of knowledge, and would ask people, is there sheep? Do you have sheep? Or what kind of goats is there?
What breeds do you have? Nothing.
They couldn't. We might as well ask, what's the temperature on Mars in the wintertime? I mean, so
it was kind of an interesting experience to move here and then figure it out along the way.
So us living here, in what's called the Oriente, which is
the southeastern part.
Southeastern part. Loja is the closest big city, which is a 4-hour trek. We are northeast of Loja. We have lived in Loja. We have traveled around. We've looked for properties, north, south, east, west.
Yeah. All within a few hours of Loja.
So
that's kind
right. Southern Ecuador is where we wanted to be. It's the safest. It's the right climate. Things. Okay. So, as far as animals, so we started looking around. I don't know that anybody else is looking around and talking about it. So, we looked around. We figured we'll talk about it. But that's the perspective that we're coming at it from. Now, breeds. Let's talk breeds.
So in the U.S., you want these breeds of goats. You want these breeds of pigs. We've done that. We've also homesteaded on a very, very small scale on an acre in northeast Tennessee. So we did that.
And you look through and you pick, these are nice. These have these great qualities. I want this.
And then we had
reason.
all the plans of things and different breeds. And then we're like, well, maybe we can import them. No. You don't import animals. I mean, I suppose you can, but the hurdles and the potential disasters, animals are not meant to do that. It just became completely non-feasible. And I also don't think that there's a huge benefit. Once we're here, we realize there's a wide variety of animals.
And it's a mixed bag. There's some surprises both ways, good and bad.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about that. Let's start with cows.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They are the most common large animal
we've ever taken of Ecuador. Where you see a mountain, there's a cow butt. You just can't see it because it's hidden behind a tree or something. They're literally everywhere. They dot the countryside. All the cows are grass-fed. Why? Because why would you pay money to feed a cow?
Yeah, they're grass or weed or tree fed. Cows here, they say cows are only grass-eating animals. Not here. They're on. I'm looking at the steep mountainside across from us, and there have been cows up there.
It's like that.
There's no grass there, and they were plenty happy. So,
yeah,
man, cows are everywhere.
Anything over 4 feet is gone.
And what breed of cows? Oddly, we have learned differs depending on exactly where you are.
Right. So, Loja has a specific Holsteins rule. Holsteins
that's
everywhere.
Pretty much it.
That's all you see, and you see a lot of them. And they're all different versions of Holsteins.
Once in a while, there'll be some random other cow, and you can...
We saw an all white bull once. We saw...
There's some other random ones.
We saw a black cow once. But otherwise, Holsteins are everywhere.
Holsteins are everywhere. Which then you get into they are a dual purpose. A lot of things here are dual purpose, which makes sense culturally speaking. If someone has a cow, they want a dual purpose because they want milk, and then they want to be able to eat the offspring. It's a kind of a cultural thing not to have a distinct milk and meat animal.
Yeah, so milk and simple quesito.
Yeah.
Quesito.
Which is like the fresh farmer's cheese.
Fresh farmer's cheese. Everybody makes it. Everybody who has a cow, they make it. It's really the very, what I would call unclean product. It smells strong. Oh my gosh, so many people sell it at the market. You just drive around, there's just signs that say for sale. Super common. There's a milk distributed system. This is a side note on the cows, that people go and on donkeys and horses go up to the cows, and they take the stainless jugs and they gather the milk, and then they come back, and those get ferried to like a distribution point where they have like a big tank, and they all come and dump it in.
Okay, you needed a fix.
Oh, thank you. And they all dump it into the big stainless tanks, and then eventually a big truck comes and picks up all those tanks and takes it to a processing center, and that's how a lot of commercial milk for products is gathered. It's literally this full distributed. It's not like major dairies. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's cool. But as far as we tangent, it's who we are.
It's who we are.
So as far as the breeds go, you have the Holstein in Loja, surrounding area of Loja, and then I know that when you get south of Loja, you kind of get a bit of a different variety.
Yeah, you get more of a meat cow. There's, and I've got some video and some pictures, black ones, brown ones, multi-colors.
And we'll throw up some of the names. I can't necessarily remember them at the moment. Also, that's the thing, names of breeds here. So you can look at an animal and you can think from a U.S. perspective as someone who has researched breeds of animals. You can look at it and be like, well, I think it's such and such breed. It may be partly that breed.
Asterisk.
It may also not be, or it may be some sort of local, which they call criollo, breed of animal that doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
Also,
or it could simply look 70% like that, which means it looks more like that thing than something else, so therefore they call it that thing.
Yeah. So when we talk about, oh, it is this color or this shape, it's because it doesn't necessarily have a breed name here. So there's some variety of cows south, where we are in the Orient. There's a whole different variety. There are these big beefy white cows, and I will never remember the name of what I think they are related to, but we'll put it up somewhere.
Magically up here.
Thank you for the magic. I'll never remember the name. It's what I think they are, but I can't guarantee that.
So yeah, there's we got some video of cows at the market.
Yeah.
And this is cows that you'll see on a typical day. There's all sorts of colors, shapes. You get some with the hump. You get a variance of body sizes and things. This is our local ganadera mercado, I think they call it, which is the livestock market, which they're actually improving. There's a lot of improvement going on. There's a lot of building. The economy here is actually doing rather well. Like there's just always something new going up, so that's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
So that's cows. Let's see what's the next. We'll go by size. Goats.
Sure.
Goats.
So goats. Okay, my dream was to have goats. I'll side note here real quick. Eli and I can't handle cow's milk in any form, in any way, raw, pasteurized. Otherwise, none of it. Goat milk we do really well with. So, and I like smaller animals to handle anyway. I just fought with our goat. I don't need a bigger animal. So my dream was to have goats. We found our goats sort of by accident on the top of a mountain.
Which was almost like some sort of like hero's journey. Go and talk to the man on the top of the mountain. You must climb until you have no more breath in your lungs.
I wish we had video of it because it was quite the experience. The local native indigenous, I don't know culturally. The man that just climbs up the mountain and we're just huffing and puffing behind him. Like,
in Crocs.
Yes, in Crocs.
Yeah, in all weather.
And we're just hoofing it behind him. And we ended up sitting in the grass on the top of the mountain with goats surrounding us.
Small goats. Friendly
Small goats mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
And ended up taking home to our rental house, which was non-ideal. But they were.
You know, they say always be ready for your animals before you bring them home.
We weren't.
Whatever.
Whatever.
You can get by.
So that was sort of the first introduction into what goats there were here, which is kind of varied. I don't know what I expected of goats in this country, but I didn't expect to find Saanen and Nigerian dwarf and Nubian and other random goat we don't know what.
But none of them are pure. They're all slightly mixed one way or another. Like we have a one goat who looks just like a Saanen, but
a mini Saanen. But we don't know exactly.
But how did you get to the mini? What did you mix with to get to the mini? She doesn't have any of the other traits. We have a mini Nubian, But then you get into some of these and you look at them and you're like, we can't find any goats that
look like you,
like your horns, your things, your body shape, your fur.
So because there's also local breeds. There's some that have come up from Peru. There's all sorts. It's like
probably some that have existed for hundreds of years from the Spanish.
Cultural melting pot. There actually is a lot of history. I would like to dive into the history of that more. There's a lot.
Which touches the pigs as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of Spanish influence here. So if you look back in the history of Ecuador, there is a lot of Spanish influence, and they brought animals, and then those animals have commingled with other animals here, and then apparently some were imported at some point, and there's just this crazy mix, which I love, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, and it's something that is, especially with goats, very, very different than the U.S. I'm on all these goat groups, and they're talking about registering their goats and how you have to keep them pure and you can't crossbreed and all of this. And
we're gonna rant.
I'm looking at our mutts, and I'm
on the purebred and the mutt thing in a minute. And we actually have some wonderful points to make. So give us a minute on that one. So there is goats.
There's a wide variety of goats.
Literally everyone's different.
Goats, milk goats.
Yeah.
Big goats, small goats, really small goats.
Really small goats.
We have some of those.
We have the daintiest, most pretty little goat with long legs, but she's only like this big.
She looks like nothing else I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So the variety of goats is kind of vast here.
It is
far more than I expected.
So
and then let's quickly touch on sheep, since sheep and goats are similar, but not the same.
There's mostly regular wool sheep.
Yeah.
We don't know a lot about sheep. We're not.
Well,
sheep
I know
owners.
quite a bit about sheep.
Okay, she knows more than I do.
I do plan on eventually getting sheep, so I've done a good bit of research, but
not like we have 10 years of sheep experience.
No, they're not as common here as some things. They're here, but you'll see a few here and there.
Yeah, you'll see them here and there, but they're less
mostly common. Literally just wool sheep. I couldn't tell you the breed. They're the most...
People don't shear.
No, so...
They keep them until they eat them.
And I think that the wool sheep are perhaps a less ideal sheep to have here, at least where we are, given that it's warm and people don't shear them. Kind of an odd thing. They basically seem to just raise them until butchering, and then that's done.
Yeah.
We do know someone who has hair sheep, which is what we want. I think... They're probably what's the one?
The Catadin?
Catadin. Everybody says that differently.
Yeah. We were actually told they were a sheep goat.
He's a nice man.
He's a nice man. But he said they were a sheep goat because we needed a buck for our goats, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's a sheep goat. It's a mix."
I don't think that's how that works.
No, it turns out no.
Yeah, they're hair sheep, which is fantastic. We really want them. Lots of reasons for that. So there are sheep. We've seen a few sort of on the side of the road.
More rare. Basically, you just have to sort of spot them and ask around.
Yeah.
And that's a recurring theme with how to find stuff, except for the livestock market, which is 98% cow.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's sheep. I can't tell you a whole lot about them.
Pigs.
We can tell you a lot about pigs.
Tell you a lot about pigs.
We like pigs.
Now, this is one of the bright spots of the conversation of we kind of won. We kind of won the lottery. If you've ever heard of Iberian hams, Iberian pigs, and it's a very special, it's a breed, it's a way of raising it, it's a way of finishing it, and then it even gets into like the processing and the curing, and it creates this incredible product. It's very popular in Europe and Spain, where it's made. They're here.
A descendant of them are here
because the Spanish brought them, and they're still actual true genetic stock.
Yep.
And even Ecuador as a country preserves such genetic stock. And I have the number of the guy who runs the department who keeps the genetics, and they'll do insemination for other pigs to try to keep the genetics around. They're
Which was just such I mean, as people who love pork, we love pigs, we love pork, to stumble upon that was amazing.
Yeah.
And basically, like, I was a little disappointed. Oh, we wanted red wattles, we wanted all these others, but now I'm like, never mind, we get Iberian pigs. I think that we won there.
Yeah. So now, what other pigs are real? So there's a ton of commodity pig. Your
white
classic. I don't know if it's a.
I actually don't know what they're called. It's not. I couldn't tell you the breed.
It's a very hourglass shape.
Everyone knows the commodity pink pig.
Pink pig.
No fur. Just everybody knows that pig.
There's also a ton of criollo pigs, and they tend to be smaller. They don't have the muscle mass. They tend to have no butt.
No hams.
No hams. We named one ham. He had no ham. It's kind of ironic. I know a guy, and looking at him, and he had a bunch of them. His son does it as well, and they have some that have curly fur and brown fur. One looked like Chewbacca.
So I mean, as someone who, like, if you look at the breeds, they remind me of the Mangalitsa.
There was some like that. There was some that are black and white striped. There
some
was
really
some
bizarre
spotted,
coloring.
3-color, and I was just like, long snout, short snout. There's all these kind of crazy, like, what are these?
And then you have some of the more not commodity but higher muscle producing pigs, which then get into, and I can't really tell you the breeds because I don't know what they are here. They may not even be a breed that's recognized other places, but more of like the Duroc or the Hampshire, or those kind of shapes of pig. Lower fat content, higher meat.
Now, I will say that we got a boar who was a mistake cross, was
supposed to be our Criollo black. The mother, we saw her, she's this like big pig, but she's got the curly, longer black hair. We'll call it fur. I think it's hair.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, it's fantastic, and like the babies will be black, and it's great, and this will be our like Criollo stock. And then we go to get said piglet, and then like, you're pink with some black spots.
But you have fur. Like you have
like hair. You're
and different ears, and so we're like,
pretty sure there was an accident there.
So that other boar over there, kind of,
accidents happened.
Accidents happen. So we bought a couple. And we wanted to raise our boar from very small, so he's friendly, and he's very friendly at like 400, 500 pounds. But he is a mix of Criollo and commodity. Once or twice.
We're not even 100% sure.
We're not even 100% sure. But he is gorgeous and beautiful and has all the good attributes, and is large muscled. So we bred him with a Criollo female who has much smaller muscle mass, is a much smaller pig. And she might be, what, 150 normally?
Probably about 200. Well, yeah, maybe normally when she's not pregnant.
When she's not preggers. And they less muscle, but they're very efficient on feed.
Higher fat content when we look at the meat as well, because that's important to us.
But she'll eat the forest.
Yeah.
You let her go, she'll just go eat tree. She'll feed herself.
She prefers it most of the time.
Whereas the other pigs, they want grain. So we did a cross, and the cross is interesting. We were charting it for a while they were still small enough to pick up. And they were beating day by day by day for, I don't know, the first month and a half.
Yeah.
They were beating the best commercial pig for weight gain that I could find that is for sale of all the best breeding for commercial pigs. Nope, flat beating it. And probably on less food than they were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't unlimited. Like, it was like they just got a couple scoops, they ate it up. It wasn't like they had unlimited food. So that was interesting. And they're gorgeous, and they have fat, and they have meat. So the crosses, and we get into that because then you have a much better carcass of a pig. So there is good pig here.
There's fantastic pig here, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's...
It is not some of the pigs we initially thought that we might have. But
But honestly, I think that we've worked it out to be better than I could have hoped for as far as a breeding program.
Let's see. So chickens. Now,
chickens are fun.
we got some pictures and photos from the market, and we'll put those up. I have seen chickens with Roadrunner legs that were...
Like the super land race.
Yeah, you got legs for days there, chicken.
Body.
Probably around 90 miles an hour. I've also seen a chicken that had legs that you couldn't see. They were so short. It's a hover chicken. I've seen Seabright wings where they like have the downward tilt. We've seen Polish...
naked necks.
Naked necks, naked butts.
Naked other parts.
Yeah. Every color
frizzles.
combination, frizzles of different varieties. I don't know if these were actually ever just imported or if this is just genetics in chickens sort of reappearing based on random barnyard crosses. Which I think is most of it.
Yeah.
People keep chickens and they breed and they produce and then they keep the next one and they just sort of uncontrolled chicken reproduction.
And you get some really bizarre
It's not like everyone goes to
birds.
Tractor Supply, buys some,
No.
and then breeds them. No.
So.
The only like known breeds I've seen is you can get just standard white Cornish cross broilers.
Yeah.
At pet stores, and I think there was like one other one, brown chickens.
I don't know what they are, if they're like Rhode Island Reds or
They look like a Rhode Island Red.
Yeah.
So those are available commercially.
But everything else is just...
Ducks. We almost forgot about ducks.
I didn't forget about ducks.
I was going to forget about ducks.
I know.
So there's ducks. We asked people. That was like a big question. Is like, is there ducks
Are
there?
there ducks? We really enjoy ducks. We enjoy duck eggs, duck
We asked
meat,
for
ducks in
months.
general.
Nobody go like, I think I know a guy that has ducks. There's ducks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
There's at least out where we are. A ton of people have ducks. Now, the primary genetic seems to be Muscovy. There's Muscovy in almost everything, more or less. We've seen some where it's less, but
I don't think it's zero on any of them.
I don't think I've seen a zero. And if we did see one where it looked like it had no Muscovy, that may just be it's not showing.
Exactly. I think it's.
But its offspring may.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the ducks.
And otherwise, there's a random selection of other genetics in there that I couldn't begin to tell you.
There's the Daffy Duck.
The Daffy Duck?
with the black with the white. Swedish. Remember Daffy Duck, the loud duck?
Yes.
Swedish. They're Swedish. There's oh gosh. Yeah, there's a mix of ducks.
Yeah. And some of it may just be breeds we don't know of from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we don't know where they came from
there's
historically.
Yeah. There's some mallard, there's some ruin, there's some there's mixes.
Yeah. I think that's it for animals.
Dogs.
There's rabbits here, which are any selection of anything. Like they're fluffy. They're usually
They're small.
kept as
There's big.
cute pets. I think occasionally
big
raised
rabbits.
as meat.
Oh, we've seen giant chickens and giant roosters.
Oh,
When I say giant, I mean like 3+ feet high.
Yeah.
Bigger than turkeys.
there are turkeys here.
There are turkeys.
It was a random thing. I'm like, are
They're
there
expensive.
turkeys in Ecuador?
If you want to raise turkeys, you can just print money here.
Wow.
Oh, they sell for $100 a pop.
More. Like the big full grown tom turkey.
Oh yeah, that wasn't a full grown. That was.
Yeah.
Turkeys go for a mint here.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. So there's random selections of lots. Honestly, quail. What's the other one that's loud?
Oh.
Guinea fowl.
There's guinea fowl.
There's geese. As far as
geese.
birds, there's pretty much anything you can possibly want, and then some stuff you don't.
Yeah.
We don't like loud birds in general.
Mutts. Our experience with mutts. So we've gone purebreds. We've gone with crosses. We've gone with mutts, unknowns.
Most people say when you start
you should
animal.
start with a purebred.
So for an example, in Tennessee, I got the wild idea we had a small space. I got the wild idea that we would raise rabbits for meat. It sort of kind of worked out. It was an experience. So I thought, okay, I want to do this correctly. I don't just want to randomly go get some animals. I want to get purebred, proper meat rabbits. So it was a whole ordeal to get them.
So everyone says start with really good genetics.
Okay, so we found someone who breeds really good genetics of what was it? New Zealand Red? Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that was what they were.
Yeah.
So we got this pair. It's good genetics. It's everything. And they were the worst rabbits. Temperament.
Harvey and
Daphne.
Harvey and
They
Daphne.
never produced anything.
Yeah, they had like records of pedigree and things. And
so you think like, oh, you've got these really fantastic animals. They didn't. They weren't great. They had weird behaviors. Harvey was the most neurotic rabbit. You couldn't touch him. You couldn't deal with him. He was just afraid of everything. And
he was afraid of everything.
And because he did finally breed with some of them. And as we watched the genetics play out with other rabbits, everything that came from Harvey as a purebred fancy rabbit had horrible traits. Just nasty, scared, mean, just poor traits.
So we at late one night. I was always late at night. So Craigslist ad found some rabbits. Somebody's getting rid of rabbits. Scrappy old big
Oh, it was rough.
cage thing.
Rabbits were rough. The whole thing was rough. I was questioning my choices in life. I'm so sorry.
So
Seemed
we're
better on the
a small amount of money, take the whole cage, take the rabbits, take everything. Fine. So we do. Okay, clean them up, cure them things.
Some issues.
Try to look at them. We're like,
Oh, man, they're all just
what are you?
What are you? Just mutts.
So we start.
We really only wanted does. Because we
Yeah.
had this fantastic buck that was supposed to be so great. And there was a buck that came with this group, and we're like, oh man,
He didn't look like
it's fine.
anything.
Like we'll just take him.
We debated just eating him.
Because he comes with it. Whatever.
It wasn't discernible in any
It's just this
particular.
little scruffy looking brown
Uncle
and gray
Buck.
thing. Uncle Buck ended up being.
Uncle Buck was the key to the kingdom.
He was the most fantastic rabbit.
He threw the craziest, most beautiful. We got harlequins. We got.
Oh my gosh, I forget all of the names. We ended up looking this all up.
And we got some we got harlequins and something else. And I was looking up rabbit breeding, and the markings on it were better than the winners of the Breeders Association for that kind of rabbit. And I'm looking at ours, going, by your classification, this would have won national champion. Wow.
Like this scruffy little rabbit.
Scruffy. And he threw a couple other things. So we've had good luck with mutts and with some other animals. We've had a cross of pig. We had a potbelly
American guinea hog.
American guinea hog cross. Like an accident. Love child.
Accident pigs. They were absolutely wonderful pigs.
The guy said they were American guinea hogs. And he's like, well, but they may not be. They may be the neighbor's, boar over there.
Which they definitely were, and they each had different traits.
We had 3 pigs. We had one that was like American guinea hog, one that was more potbelly,
and one that was the perfect,
right in the middle,
perfect in between. It was great, honestly.
Really good pigs.
Our ducks were a grab bag of ducks, literally, at an auction. No idea what they were. We sort of figured out what they mostly were, but I doubt they were pure in any way.
No idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you get into hybrid vigor, and hybrid vigor is a really interesting subject, and it's part of why a cross of an animal will do better than the cross between 2 genetics does better than a same cross. And you get it with plants, you get it with animals. Like I said, our pigs. We're just out here at the edge of the jungle. We don't have anything fancy. We don't have special growth promoters and stuff. And we throw them some branches of trees, and they eat a little bit of pig food. And we're beating the best possible numbers that I can find. And we're doing it with a beautiful carcass, not just a pure lean carcass. They have fat on them. They have we like pork that's not lean. We
use lard as the only
really
fat source we have.
So So the carcass composition is actually really important to us.
The temperament as well.
Temperament's important.
And I think that a lot of times I see a lot of people with purebred animals that they have weird behaviors, weird temperaments, weird issues that I think that you can breed out when you have the hybrid.
Yeah. And we sold some of our piglets to other people, and they were just amazed. They're like, wow. Like, they have gotten big so fast. They look so good. And I'm like, yep. And it's a weird cross. But it worked out. So,
and that's kind of just sort of a side note, but I think it has a lot to do with why I think homesteading here works really well. At first, to be completely honest, I was like struggling with, I know these breeds that I want and they're not here, and now what? Maybe a little bit of disappointment, more just trying to figure it out. But once you figure it out,
it's like, oh, you had a plan. You're cute.
I know, right?
Welcome to life.
But once you realize that there's actually a lot of wonderful traits in all of these crossbred, crazy animals.
When you watch a 100-pound, 4.5-foot woman walk around a 350-pound pig on a bit of string.
Right? Yeah, they actually leash pigs here.
Yep.
Like on strings, which is just bizarre to me. Just from a like...
Yeah.
I don't think our pigs would do that. Some pigs might do that.
Yeah.
But I think that I know a lot of people could look at the lack of specific purebred livestock here as a negative, but I personally think it's a positive.
There is good genetic diversity. Depending on what you're after,
yeah,
you can attain that.
Yeah.
So, buying animals. How do you do it? Big question, right? We didn't know. Like,
I mean, we went to the top of a mountain and happened to find the guy that had the goats. That was an accident. That was not a plan.
That was an odd experience. Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
But it made a good story.
But when you actually go to, like, okay, we wanted to start pigs.
Now, we were told there is the most wonderful animal market in the whole country, Otavalo.
I mean, when we were in the States and I'm looking up,
yeah,
you're like,
oh, it's great.
Like, how do you buy animals? I mean, Otavalo. Well,
it looks great.
Fantastic.
So, from us, we're in southern Ecuador. Loja is our close city, the other direction. To go to Otavalo, Google says 13.5 hours. Now, you're going to stop for gas. You're going to stop for food. You're never going to make Google time here. The roads are there's trucks and buses and things and like
there's
single
a landslide
lanes.
And you have to go around it, or there's something.
So 16 hours of driving.
Just to get there.
That's 2 days. So 2 days to get there, a day to be there, 2 days to get home. That's a 5-day trip.
Now, some people would push that to just like drive your 16 hours. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's safe. I don't think that's a great idea.
Okay, you're a nutcase. 3 days. Now, then you're going to buy an animal. You know, like, okay. And you're going to put it on a truck and pay to ship it back. And that poor animal is going to be on a truck, heat, cold thing, whatever else, for 16 hours, which is incredibly stressful, and a different climate.
Yeah.
Different altitudes. There's a lot of if there. So
because it is much cooler there and a higher altitude, and then bringing them to a warmer, lower place.
Right. So we've seen great. Some of the animals that we wanted are there, but I don't think it's a good option. So we try to stay local.
I think that buying animals from somewhere local, they're simply acclimated. There's also, I mean, we worried about that bringing our goats from Loja to the Orient because there are plants here they've never seen. Are they going to know not to eat the poisonous ones?
So we put them in the jungle. Are they going to be okay? Like, goats have to be in a thing, and they have to be safe, and you have to pull all the weeds out of the yard, and like.
Oh, the lists of poisonous plants. It's the jungle. Nobody is going to be able to tell me.
We can't even know what these plants are.
So we'll put them out there, and
there's 11 million kinds of plants. So we literally put them in the jungle, and they chomp, 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 chomp. No, don't like. Chomp, 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 chomp. Don't like.
And it's fine.
And it's fine.
But
amazing.
I do think that it is a better practice to get animals that are acclimated to at least the general area where you live.
That's true.
Just overall.
That's true. So buying.
Local market or local.
There's a local market.
Yeah.
Which is between. Let's see. It's between.
It's by oh gosh.
Yantzaza and
I can't remember the name of it. The town.
northeast of Yantzaza.
There you go.
We'll put a sign up magically. And that's the local market. They have a big sign now. It's fancy. They're putting up a big fence, things. They're doing improvements. It's really getting fancy. Now, at that market, mostly cows.
Lots of cows. So many cows.
So much moo.
So much.
Listen to the moo. We saw llamas last time.
Alpacas? Llamas?
I never know the difference. Before that, they have a small area for some other animals. We saw some pigs. Guy brought some piglets.
There were a couple sheep. There's always some horses, donkeys.
Yeah. There's a little area for those. There's a few. So that's there, but otherwise it is literally you drive around, you ask people, you talk to the local, they call them agro-pecurias, local we call them like a feed store.
Yeah.
And vet supply, and they're the same here. You can buy all of the medicines and the drugs and the things and your sacks of food in the same place. Oh, you want some antibiotics, you want this, you want some cream, you want, some injectable ivermectin.
You can buy that all here.
Oh yeah.
Without
There's no prescription. There's no vet needed. You just point at it. And it's pretty cheap too.
Yeah.
So, and you start asking, who has this, who has that, who has blah, blah, blah. And then you sort of like hunt it down. You get phone numbers.
You ask neighbors. I mean,
it's the Ecuadorian way.
We got pigs from a neighbor.
We did.
So we just like, oh, you have pigs. Great.
After she saw our cross, she actually bought one of the piglets back.
She did.
For breeding.
we bought our boar and his sister, who we ended up processing from her, and then the offspring of the boar, she wanted one back because
when she saw like how beautiful that boar came out, she thought it was just a mistake. She's a big fan of the artificial insemination, which is popular here, and she saw that, she's like, whoa. Oh, he's like, oh, muy lindo.
Definitely, there was
so
a little
beautiful.
bit of like regret there.
Oh, no, there was mad. Her and her husband just like, they were mad. They sold that pig.
Yeah. So then they ended up buying one of the offspring back.
Yep.
And the man that we bought our sow from ended up buying one of her offspring back as well.
Because he wants to breed with his criollos because they just don't have enough meat. It's not really profitable. No. And so he has a small
He's
operation.
doing a very similar thing to what we are trying to kind of cross.
But commercially.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that's your buying options is wander around, talk to neighbors, talk to places, and find stuff, or the few big markets. Now there is the normal commercial markets like the chickens, ducks, coolie.
All the small animals. And occasionally some random pigs. And
we find that at just the big Sunday vegetable market.
Yep.
There's always a section for that.
Yep. And honestly, there's also sometimes a random truck with cows for sale.
Parked outside. Yeah. We've seen pigs, we've seen cows, they just park next to the market sometimes. You'd be like, hey, I want that. Go and talk to them.
Yep. That's more or less our list.
So, that is what we have for you on animals in Ecuador for your homestead needs. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a little wild and a little crazy. It is not what we expected, but we're having a good time with it.
We're having good results so far.
If you watch our videos, at the end of them, there's always like a little animal clip of like one of our animals, and they're always interesting. So that's what it is. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.